Welcome back to this week's episode of Humans in 5.
In our lives, we've all heard tales about how our brains work. There are all kinds of books, documentaries, and other sources that will tell us about how our brains can be sorted into neat categories. For example, one of the most persistent tales we hear is that the brains of males and females are just not the same.
Whether it's framed as men are from Mars and women are from Venus, or some other adage, most of us have spent our lives hearing that our sex has more to do with our brain than anything else. We're told that girls play with dolls, boys are good with numbers, and that it's not our fault. These things are just immutable scientific truths.
Now, before we get any further, we are happy to share that this is all twaddle. Thanks to the works of many remarkable researchers, we know through thorough neuroscientific study that there is no such thing as a sex-based difference between the brains of bodies associated with different genitals or hormonal profiles. When we look at our brains on a physiological level and investigate the processes that influence our decisions, our memories, and how we process information, there is no such thing as a brain dictated by our sex.
This is best articulated in a new book titled The Gendered Brain by Gina Rippon. Professor Rippon of Aston University has crafted this work to debunk the notion that our brains are connected to our sex. By reviewing the most innovative studies, Rippon clarifies how our brains are extremely plastic. The things we do, excel at, and our various behaviors are more closely linked to our life experiences, including social factors and our cultural practices, than our hormone profiles.
For example, our brains are highly plastic. As we learn new tasks and activities, our brains change to consolidate this information. The classic example is that London black cab drivers have changes in their brains in response to years of honing their navigation skills through the streets of London.
So if we know our brains are plastic and can change in response to new experiences or learning patterns, such as picking up a new language or a new instrument, then where do these ideas about male and female brains that excel at different tasks persist? Where did these ideas come from, and why do they have such long legs in our society?
Many of the early reports seeking to characterize male and female brains did so to try and emphasize the social perception that women were inferior or complementary to men. 19th century writers sought to demonstrate that while men's brains belonged in education and business, women's brains belonged elsewhere.
Even as our scientific methods and knowledge improved, the idea that male and female brains differ has stayed in the minds of many. Rippon attributes this to the ways that new research studies finding similarities in all brains are reported. Lots of media outlets find studies that highlight similarities a bit underwhelming. It's a lot more salacious to report one study that identifies a small difference than a flood of studies that show how similar we really are.
All of the work that Rippon highlights collectively demonstrates that social forces, sexist perspectives, and poor reporting originate and perpetuate the idea that somehow the brains of males and females are different. But if you look at the evidence, there is overwhelming research to prove that females are more than entitled to the social, political, and economic freedoms and equality relative to their male peers. That equality is written in our brains.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Humans in 5.
And don't forget to subscribe!